Today, we are diving into a book that has genuinely changed millions of lives, Eckhart Tolle's The Power of Now. Now, at its heart, this is a guide to freeing ourselves from that constant, just exhausting noise in our heads and finding a state of deep, lasting peace. And believe it or not, the whole thing started with a single, desperate thought. So picture this. Not long after his 29th birthday, after years of grinding anxiety and suicidal depression, this one phrase just kept repeating in Eckhart Tolle's mind. I cannot live with myself any longer. Over and over. Until all of a sudden, something about it struck him as very, very strange. He thought, wait a minute, if I cannot live with myself, then there have to be two of me, right? There's the I, the one who's aware, and then there's the self that the I finds totally unbearable. And this led to an earth-shattering idea. Maybe only one of them is real. This realization was so profound, so completely out of left field, that it was like a circuit breaker just flipped in his brain. His mind just stopped. For the first time he could ever remember, that constant, tormenting voice in his head went totally silent. He was wide awake, completely conscious, but there was no thought, just pure, quiet presence. Now look, this wasn't just a quick, fleeting moment of quiet. This was a massive and permanent shift in his consciousness. And this very personal story of utter collapse and sudden awakening, well, that's the foundation for everything in The Power of Now. I mean, the transformation was just incredibly fast. Think about it. He went from nearly 30 years of nonstop anxiety and depression to waking up the very next morning in this state of absolute peace. He said it was like seeing the world for the first time. Everything was vibrant, alive, just beautiful. This intense bliss went on for months before it settled into this deep, lasting peace that would go on to define the rest of his life, and of course his teaching. So, this brings us to the universal problem that Tolle is really pointing to. He basically argues that most of us are suffering from the exact same thing he was, just maybe to a lesser degree. We are, without even knowing it, completely enslaved to our own minds. And he poses this very direct challenge, and I'll ask you too. Think about it for just a second. Can you, right now, just decide to stop thinking? Can you silence that internal narrator and just find the off button? And here's the real kicker. If the answer is no, then according to Tolle, you aren't using your mind as the amazing tool it's supposed to be. The tool has taken you over. You've become so identified with it that you actually believe you are that voice in your head. Tolle has a name for this false mind-made self. He calls it the ego. It's like this phantom identity that's built from all your past experiences, your conditioning, all the labels you've picked up along the way. And here's the crucial part. It can only survive by constantly thinking. It needs the past to tell it who it is, and it needs the future to promise it some kind of salvation. And that's why the mind never, ever seems to shut up. The way the egoic mind works is actually pretty predictable. It's completely obsessed with the past and the future, always replaying old hurts or worrying about what's going to happen next. And in doing so, it almost completely ignores the only thing that's ever actually real, this very moment. It creates this screen of concepts and judgments that stops you from experiencing life directly. And this is where all our fear, our anxiety, our sense of not enoughness comes from. It's this compulsive, negative thinking that just drains us. But it turns out it's not just the nonstop thinking that keeps us from being present. Tolle introduces a second, really powerful concept, the accumulation of all our old, unresolved emotional pain. He calls this the pain body. So imagine every negative emotion you've ever felt that you didn't fully process in the moment, every bit of anger, sadness, grief. He says it all merges together to form this energy field, like a semi-autonomous creature that literally lives inside of you. And this pain body has a really predictable cycle. It kind of just lies dormant, waiting for a trigger. It could be a casual remark, a memory, anything that resonates with an old pain. If you're not fully present, it awakens and takes you over completely. You don't just feel angry, you become anger. And once it's in control, it actually seeks out more drama, more conflict, because negative energy is the only thing it can eat. So here's the crucial point, and it's a wild one. The pain body literally cannot feed on joy. It finds joy indigestible. So it will actively create misery in your life and in your relationships because that is its only food source. It's a huge reason why we can find ourselves stuck in these endless cycles of drama and unhappiness. Okay, so we've got this compulsive thinking mind and this heavy pain body constantly pulling us out of the present moment and away from peace. So the big question is, how in the world do we break free? Well, the path to liberation, according to Tolle, is actually surprisingly simple. The solution is simple, but that doesn't mean it's easy. Since the entire problem is that we identify with our mind, the solution is to learn how to disidentify from it, to just step back and realize that you're not your thoughts and you're not your emotions. You're the silent awareness that's watching them. And here's the core practice, the how-to. You start by just listening to that voice in your head, but listen to it impartially, as if you're listening to someone else talking. Don't judge it, don't analyze it, just notice it's there. And very quickly, you'll have this incredible realization. Oh, there's the thought. And here I am watching the thought. That moment of watching creates a little gap in the stream of thinking. And it's in that quiet gap, that's where you find the stillness and peace that is your true nature. This, right here, is the key to everything. You are the silent awareness behind all the noise. The thinker is just a conditioned, repetitive pattern. The moment you truly get this, not just as an idea, but as a felt experience, you've taken your first real step toward freedom. Tolle tells this powerful little story. There's a beggar who's been sitting by the road for over 30 years. He spends his whole life asking strangers for spare change, completely unaware that the old box he's been sitting on this whole time is filled with gold. He was looking for wealth everywhere outside of himself when it was right there with him all along. And this, of course, is Tolle's ultimate point. We are that beggar. We spend our lives looking for fulfillment, for peace, for love, in the future, in our careers, in other people. But the true treasure, that radiant joy of just being, is already within us, and it's only accessible in one place, right here, in the present moment. So let's end with the only question that ever really matters. And don't try to answer it with your thinking mind. Just for a second, bring your attention fully inward. Can you feel the sense of aliveness in your hands? Can you hear the sounds in the room without putting a label on them? What's going on inside of you right now? The answer isn't a thought, it's a feeling. And that is the beginning of the